Today, we're going to unlock a piece of secret history, a story you probably haven't heard about, one of the most defining moments of the 20th century. Thanks to a recently declassified Soviet dossier, we're about to see the JFK assassination, not from Dallas, but from deep inside the walls of the Kremlin. And get this, that quote, that's not from some historian looking back. That's from the opening lines of the dossier itself. These documents give us this incredible raw look at how the Soviet Union reacted to an event that honestly could have pushed the entire world over the edge. You know, we all know the American side of the story, right? The motorcade, the nation's grief, a government thrown into complete turmoil. But while one superpower was mourning, another one was panicking. Thousands of miles away, the news from Dallas was kicking off a totally different kind of chaos. For decades, all we really had were rumors, bits and pieces from memoirs. But this dossier, this changes everything. It's like a minute-by-minute account of the frantic thinking inside the Kremlin as they tried to figure out if they were literally on the brink of war. This timeline really shows you just how fast they moved. This wasn't just some news bulletin for them. Within an hour, the foreign minister is on a secure line to Premier Khrushchev himself, pulling him away from a quiet evening at his dacha. They knew right away the assassination of an American president could easily be seen as an act of war, and one wrong move could trigger a nuclear exchange. The stakes were that high. So publicly, this was the carefully crafted message they sent out. By bringing up Lenin, Khrushchev was projecting this image of a stable, rational power that was above political violence. The official line was basically shock, sympathy, and a hard no on terrorism. It was a crystal clear signal to a very nervous world: this wasn't us. And this is where the dossier just blows the doors off the whole thing. Because while they were broadcasting this calm, stable message to the world, they were privately grappling with a ticking time bomb, a direct connection that could absolutely shatter their claims of innocence. So here it is, the crucial point. The man they arrested in Dallas was no stranger to the Kremlin, not at all. He was a former resident, a defector who had been their problem for more than 2 years. In an instant, a foreign policy crisis became this terrifying internal liability. I mean, the panic in the Kremlin must have been off the charts. And they had the receipts. They had a whole file on him. The Oswald file wasn't just some casual record. It was this detailed and probably deeply frustrating history of a really troubled guy the Soviet state had been forced to deal with. And this timeline, wow, it really shows you just how deep their problem went. Just 5 days after he gets there, Oswald tries to kill himself because they turned down his citizenship request. He immediately becomes their mess to clean up. They treat him in the hospital, and then, instead of kicking him out, they send him to live in Minsk. So they didn't just know Oswald, they were basically his unwilling caretakers. The file has his own words, practically begging to stay. This wasn't just some passing thought for him. He was desperate to cut all ties with the US. You can just feel the dread ripple through the Kremlin as they realize that the man accused of murdering the American president is the same guy who begged to become one of them. So, just like that, the entire geopolitical chessboard is flipped upside down. This wasn't just about a change of leadership in America anymore. It was a massive strategic crisis for the Soviet Union. They were now facing a new US president while holding a secret that could easily be spun into a reason for war. And this really shows the huge strategic shift they were dealing with. On one hand, you had Kennedy. For all their conflict, he was becoming a known quantity. They'd even signed the nuclear test ban treaty. But Lyndon B. Johnson? He was a complete unknown. The dossier reveals this genuine Soviet fear that, hotheads in the Pentagon could use Oswald's past to push this new, untested president towards a direct conflict. So what do you do when you're sitting on what might be the most explosive political secret of the century? How do you play that hand? Well, their own documents spell it out pretty clearly. Their mission was to neutralize the danger. So instead of burying the information and just hoping for the best, they made this incredibly high-stakes calculation. They figured the risk of the Oswald connection being discovered and used against them was way greater than the risk of just revealing it themselves. It was a brilliant move, really. Reframe a potential bombshell as a friendly gesture of transparency. And they didn't just bluff. Their ambassador literally walked into a meeting with the American Secretary of State and handed over photocopies from their secret Oswald file, the same documents we're talking about here. It was this pivotal, deliberate move to de-escalate the whole situation.
And here's the proof that their gamble paid off. This report back to Moscow captures that exact moment. The Americans were stunned by the transparency, you can tell, but they were also visibly relieved. The Soviet move had worked. It diffused a flashpoint that could have led to absolute catastrophe.
Okay, so after all these decades, what's the big deal? Why does this file from a long-gone superpower still matter so much? What's the real takeaway for us now? Now, let's be totally clear. This dossier does not solve the JFK assassination. It offers no new clues about who actually did it. Its real value, its incredible value, is that it gives us a fly-on-the-wall view of leadership in a moment of extreme crisis. It shows two nuclear-armed rivals staring into the abyss and both choosing to pull back. It even reveals this hidden, very human side of diplomacy, right down to these surprisingly personal letters between Khrushchev and the grieving Kennedy family. I mean, opening this one single file has completely reshaped how we understand one of history's darkest days. It proves that what we think we know about the past is so often incomplete, and it just leaves you with this fascinating question. If this story was buried for over 60 years, what other histories are still out there, sitting in a locked archive just waiting for their turn to be told?